Hello, this is Jay with NewToPuertoRico.com. This video is actually going to be about the things that I don't like about Puerto Rico. Just because I choose to live here and I prefer to live here or other places doesn't mean that I like everything about it. I think it is very important for you to know some things that even people who were born and raised here don't like about living here. It can be frustrating even for us. So these are some things that I find frustrating, and it is likely that someone moving in from outside will also find frustrating. So it is important for you to know so that you can expect that and it doesn't come as a surprise. Okay, so I have a list here of 7 things. I'll try to give a few brief examples so that you know what I mean. So I'm going to start with one thing that I really don't like, and generally speaking, is saying that a lot of things just don't work. They just don't. And I'll give you an example. Crosswalks. You press the button, nothing happens. Sometimes things on websites, on official websites, don't have the accurate information, or the system in which you're supposed to be able to do something online doesn't work. Just the other day, I tried to go to the movie theater. They had something called Cine para Todos, which is actually really nice. It's where one time a month, or in the summer once a week, they have these movies that they leave the lights on, the volume is lower, and then kids with epilepsy, kids with autism can go and watch these movies without too much trouble. So if you see the kids running around or whatever, it's not going to be a big deal. Well, they said that in this theater they were going to have the English version of this movie. So we went there and we went with some friends from the States. And then we show up at the theater and they have the Spanish version. And we were like, well, it says on your website that is the English version, and I showed it. And they said, well, I showed my phone and it says English, and it says, oh, well, we have the Spanish version, sorry. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I contacted the central offices, and they said, oh yeah, but we have here is the Spanish version. So in another link, somewhere else in the website, it says Spanish. And then I sent them a link of the theater, and it says the English. So it happens a lot where you see one thing, it says one thing, you look at the same place, and then some other areas is another thing. So that happens a lot. Lots of discrepancies. Sometimes you go to, let's say, just happened to me again recently. I went to the police station. I had to go get something, a certificate, and they were closed. I mean, that section was closed where they give out the certificates. I'm like, well, it says Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. So, oh yeah, but they're so backed up that they close Tuesdays and Thursdays to work on the processing only, so they don't see new people. Well, you can't have one person to see the people and get the documentation. I was like, no, sorry, they're closed. So then I had to come in another day and get that done. And then you're supposed to know, for this certification, you're supposed to know the paperwork that you're supposed to get, because there's no place where you can find it, the instructions. So I went online and I didn't see anywhere where it says what is it that I needed. So then through word of mouth, I had to get the documentation. And even then, I showed up, and the police officer that was there was so nice that he told me, well, you need this, oh, you need this certification, which you have. Oh, but you need this other paper. It's like, what other paper? You need to print this other paper validating this paper. And I'm like, what? Doesn't even make any sense. This is a certificate that is valid that I need as part of everything else to get this other certificate. Yes, but you need this other blank sheet of paper that has just a few letters printed on it in order to validate this official document. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But it is what it is, I guess. So that is frustrating. That is kind of like, come on, man, really? Is that really necessary? Um, but nevertheless, that's one thing that really frustrates me. Thankfully, that doesn't happen very often. Meaning that I don't have to do these things very often at all. But it's like that with a lot of things that have to do with the local government, like driver's license or marriage certificate or whatever it is. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Now, moving on. Along the same lines, there are too many requirements for things. So I need to get this certificate from the police station, right? And in order to get that, I have to have so many things that I don't know why I need them, but I do. And in order to get a driver's license or get the driver's license renewed, you need so many things that that don't make a lot of sense. Uh, and I understand getting your vision checked, getting a good conduct certificate, that sort of make sure you don't have anything pending, any penalties and that sort of thing. But there are so many more things that you need, and it has to be in a certain order, in a certain way, and you have to buy some stamp. Like, what's up with this stamp? They have to go get this signed, and then you have to go somewhere else and get some stamp for however many dollars, and then you have to go back to the place where you got the paperwork signed to begin with the stamps to finish off the process. So you can't just do things in one place. And that is something that, to me, it's so not, I mean, I don't want to say stupid, but it is, okay? So I go to what you call the DMV, I guess we call it DTOP here, and I can't just do everything in one place. I have to do some things here, some things there, and then go back to the first place and do the other things. Not to mention that the lines are huge. In fact, I wrote a blog post on when I renewed my driver's license, and I went through like the story of my time there, because I spent so many hours there waiting. But that is annoying. Again, it's not something that you have to deal with very often. You renew your license every 6 years, so not that big of a deal, but it is annoying, and it is like that with many things. Even the medical, when you need some blood work or something, you have to go to the lab, and you have to go to an imaging center for the CT scans, unless you go to a hospital. If you go to a hospital, then you have everything there. But if you go to your private doctor and you need some blood work or whatever, it is very likely that you need to go to a lab for the blood work and some other place for some other things, and then so it is not a one-stop shop. Some things rarely are, unless like a hospital when it comes to medical. Another thing that I don't like is that things can get expensive. Things are expensive, and I'm talking about stuff. Things generally are more expensive than you would see elsewhere. So people do a lot of online shopping, which now they're trying to tax that. In fact, they've passed some measure to tax everything that you buy online, even if it's through eBay or Amazon. And you have to kind of have record of all your purchases, and then the sales tax you have to pay when you do your tax returns. So everything is expensive, and you try to save a buck here or there, and they're trying to really tax just about everywhere. And things also like electricity is really expensive, and it's hot, so you need air conditioner running, and the water services I find it expensive. When you pay $70 or so on water, that's a lot. We're a family of 4, and we literally melt in our house. It is so hot. It normally gets into the mid 90s inside the house. I've measured up to 99 degrees in my house, and we pay $250 in electricity. We don't even have a TV, so it can get expensive. Okay, and along the same lines of things being expensive, services not so much, but things are expensive. Um, if you work here with a local company, chances are that you're going to make less money than you did in the States. So someone here with the same qualifications and the same job description as someone in the States is going to make less money. So you make less money, you pay more for things, and you pay more taxes too. So that is something that you have to be aware of if you plan on working with a local company here, is that you will make less money. For example, nurses. I have a friend in Michigan who is a nurse, and she makes around $55,000 as a nurse. Well, here you would make maybe 30,000. You can make a little bit more if you've been here a while, but to start, upper 20s a year. Okay, so you make a lot less money for the same job. So that is one thing that I also don't like. And that's the reason why a lot of people leave, really. So let's see, what else do I have here? The roads. Okay, so it rains a lot here. Okay, it rains a lot. This is a tropical island. We have lots of rain, and rain is terrible for roads. But the thing is that the main roads are generally okay, but the smaller roads are full of potholes and bumps. There's a road with a pothole. Eventually they fix it, but what they do is that they put more asphalt on top of it, and they make like a little bump over it because they know it's going to kind of give in. So then you have a bump from the asphalt that they put on top, and then you have the bump from the area that gave in, and then you have another bump. So for a while you have like a pothole but upside down, meaning that you have where you had a pothole, you have a bump now, and then over time it's just you're gonna have a bump and then kind of like a little hole and then another bump, and you'll see that a lot. So your car in the smaller roads, you're gonna, it's gonna be like in this weird road, and you're gonna find a lot of those roads here. But generally, the main roads, like the highways, the main roads are generally fine. But the smaller roads, the neighborhood roads, can get really bumpy, and lots of potholes everywhere. But then again, it rains a lot. It gets worse on years that you have a lot of rain. It's not as bad on the years where you don't have a lot of rain, and then they're able to resurface the roads. But it is annoying, and it's terrible for your suspension in the car. Another thing, parks and recreation. That is one thing that if you have kids, you're going to be suffering. There are, honestly, I have a really difficult time finding a place to have my kids ride a bike. Ride a bike in a place where I feel not that it's unsafe, but where I feel safe. I mean, you have these parks that are what they call lineal parks, which means that you have this, about 6 or so miles of a park where you can ride your bike. But if you're like me and you prefer running over biking, I don't even own a bicycle. My kids like to ride their bicycle, but I prefer to run. I can't run because my kids will be way out a mile ahead and I can't see them, and I'll be running or jogging. So I don't like that at all. And another thing is, I mean, you can mountain bike, but the mountains here are pretty treacherous, and my kids are not ready for that sort of biking. So, and then the urbanizations, the neighborhoods, the cars drive so fast, and the cars park all the way back into the sidewalk. So you'll find a lot of cars are blocking sidewalks. So there's really no way to bike around your neighborhood unless you're on the street, and there are cars that drive really fast on the street. So it is hard to find a place to safely ride a bicycle unless you're riding with them, I suppose. I mean, if you have a bike, whatever. And then when it comes to parks, there are very few parks that are in good condition. I mean, there are some parks that they have a slide and whatever, and yeah, it's fun, but they're generally very basic. I remember when I lived in the States, and they have these huge parks with nets and monkey bars and all these things, and they were kept in great condition. Not so much here. If you find a park that is somewhat decent, chances are you're gonna have to pay for it. Pay for parking, pay to get in, or something. So there are some parks that are okay, that are maintained fairly well, but you're gonna have to pay for them. And they're generally not that exciting anyway. If you want to take, but we do have little water parks, and we have much more exciting things. They're just kind of expensive, like I said. I mean, there's a little water park with a little rock climbing wall and stuff in Salinas, in Albergue Olímpico, which is actually very nice, but it costs nearly $20 per person to get in. So it's $80 for a family of four to get in. So it can get pricey just to spend a day at a little park. And I really wish there was a place where I could have my children just go and ride a bike and have fun outside in a decent place. The neighborhood park that I have is not in decent shape at all. So that also is annoying. So they build these facilities and then they don't maintain it. They don't have the money to maintain it unless they charge for it. And I think here my last point is that if you live in the metro in particular, you're gonna find a lot of noise. Okay, so this is a very densely populated area, the San Juan metro. And in the neighborhoods, the houses are really crammed, very close to each other. So you'll hear the neighbors' dogs, you'll hear the cars, you'll hear the music. I mean, you'll hear their TV. And people here are not very quiet to begin with. So they have their music blasting, they have their TV really loud, their dogs are barking, and it can get annoying. For once, I work sometimes the night shift, so I have to sleep during the day, and it is nearly impossible for someone like me to sleep during the day because of all the noise. So you'll find that there's a lot of really loud music, really loud cars, people honking the horn all the time, lots of traffic. So it is loud and congested, particularly in the metro, in the San Juan metro, and in the nearby municipalities or towns. So that is something also that I wish were different. I mean, I suppose I could move to the country, or what we call the campo, which is a little bit less densely populated, and it's a lot quieter. So if you don't like noise, and if you like space between houses, I suggest you move down to what we call El Campo, not in the metro, not in the very densely populated areas. So that's it, I think, from what I could think. There's some things that I think you won't like, additional to this, things that particularly don't bother me, but I know that are things that bother people that come from outside, and that will be in a different video. But these are the things that I particularly don't like, and even with all these things, I still prefer to live here over other places. And I'm going to make another video about the things that I do like about Puerto Rico. So I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, like I said before, just send me an email, contact me through Facebook, New to Puerto Rico, on Facebook, or if you have any particular topic you want me to talk about, just let me know and I'll try and discuss it. All right? Thank you. Have a good day.